10 weeks of silence in the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil gone. India's kitchens are running out of gas, while oil prices rocket to $113 a barrel, and factories in Gujarat run on controlled supplies. A $5 billion solution is sitting on a shelf, covered in dust. On February 28th, the world changed when airstrikes turned the world's most critical choke point into a war zone. But the real tragedy isn't just the blockade. It's that we had a bypass ready 20 years ago. A miracle of subsea engineering from Oman to India that would have made this crisis impossible. It was feasible, it was engineered, but it was never built. Today, we're finding out who killed the pipeline that could have saved the Indian economy. The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran and Oman, at its narrowest point, just 21 miles wide. The actual shipping lanes are 2 miles in each direction. Through those lanes, 20 million barrels of oil flow every single day, 1/5 of everything the world consumes. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE. Every barrel from these countries exits through one corridor. Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan imported almost 2/3 of their total LNG supplies via the Strait of Hormuz in 2025, making them particularly vulnerable to any disruption. There is no real alternative at scale. Saudi Arabia has a pipeline to the Red Sea. The UAE has one to Fujairah. Combined, they carry only a fraction of normal Hormuz volume. For India, the numbers are serious. 45% of crude imports, 90% of LPG imports. When the strait disrupts, India does not just pay more. India starts running short. That dependency is a structural vulnerability that engineers identified decades ago, and they designed a solution. Please take a moment to subscribe and like the video. It really helps the channel. The project is called the Middle East India Deepwater Pipeline, MEIDP, a subsea gas pipeline from Oman across the Arabian Sea directly to the coast of Gujarat in India. No tankers, no Hormuz, no Chokepoint. A direct underground connection between Middle Eastern gas fields and Indian consumers. The offshore distance is approximately 1,200 kilometers across the Arabian Sea. The Nord Stream pipelines in Europe run over 1,200 kilometers. The technology exists. The consortium behind this project, South Asia Gas Enterprise, known as SAGE, completed full technical and commercial feasibility studies. The pipeline would reach 3,450 meters water depth, cross 2 continental slopes, and traverse the Oman fracture zone earthquake belt. Every challenge was studied. Every solution was engineered. Capacity, 1.1 billion cubic feet of gas per day. Annual savings compared to importing the same volume as LNG, nearly $945 million. Total project cost, $5.2 billion. A $5.2 billion pipeline saving India nearly $1 billion annually. Engineering completed, route mapped, feasibility proven. So why does it not exist? The original concept included Iran as a gas source. Western sanctions killed those plans immediately. When the route was redesigned to start from Oman and UAE, new obstacles emerged. Political will was absent. India's government was unwilling to commit to a multi-decade energy agreement at this scale. Then LNG arrived as a flexible alternative. Build a terminal, sign short-term contracts, no pipeline obligation, no 30-year geopolitical commitment. LNG seemed rational when Hormuz was stable. It looks very different today. Building across the Arabian Sea is not simple. The Oman fracture zone is an active seismic area. Water depth reaches 3,450 meters. These are real challenges, but none are insurmountable. The pipeline would not sit on the seabed like a garden hose. It would be buried, stabilized, and engineered to flex under geological stress without fracturing. SAGE planned for an offshore compression station on the Qualhat Seamount, a natural ridge where water depth reduces to 400 meters, to maintain gas pressure across the full crossing. The engineering is real. The technology exists. The route is mapped. What never existed was the decision to build it. On March 4th, 2026, Iranian forces declared the strait closed. By March 8th, 10 ships had been attacked, 5 crew members killed. India's government issued emergency controls on natural gas distribution. Commercial restaurants and hotels saw LPG allocations reviewed. LPG consumption fell 13% in March 2026 as commercial supplies were cut to protect households. The Indian crude oil basket hit $113.57 per barrel. State-owned oil retailers have accumulated over 1 lakh crore rupees in losses since mid-March, as fuel prices were held down despite surging input costs. Every consequence experts had predicted would follow a Hormuz disruption happened, and the pipeline that would have protected India was never built because LNG seemed cheaper in the years when nobody believed Hormuz would actually close. The 2026 crisis has permanently changed the calculation. India has significantly diversified its crude oil supply. As of March 2026, India imports from around 40 countries, with approximately 70% of crude now routed through alternative maritime routes. But diversification of crude is not the same as solving the LPG and gas dependency. 90% of India's LPG imports still move through Hormuz, and unlike crude oil, where tanker routes can be redirected, gas infrastructure takes decades to build. The MEIDP route from Oman to Gujarat still makes engineering sense. Gas reserves in Oman, UAE, and Saudi Arabia are larger today than when the project was first designed. India's gas demand continues rising. SAGE is now actively seeking diplomatic backing from India's Ministry of Petroleum for the first time in years. The political barriers remain. Long-term energy agreements across decades require sustained diplomatic commitment that has historically proved difficult to maintain. But the question that was once theoretical is now urgent. $5.2 billion sounds enormous, but compare it to what the 2026 Hormuz crisis has already cost India alone. Oil at $113 per barrel. Over 1 lakh crore rupees in losses absorbed by state oil retailers. Industries operating on controlled supplies. Food prices rising as fertilizer flows are disrupted. Morgan Stanley estimated the disruption at roughly 20% of global oil supply, double the impact of the Suez Crisis. The economic damage to India from a single month of Hormuz disruption dwarfs the total pipeline cost. And this crisis will not be the last. Yes, a pipeline takes a decade to build. It cannot solve today's disruption. But here is the harder truth. Without it, the next disruption is simply a matter of when. The geography has not changed. Iran still borders Hormuz. The dependency is still structural. That version of energy security required one decision, made years ago, that prioritized infrastructure over short-term savings. That decision was never made. The pipeline will not be built quickly. A project at this scale requires a decade of work even with full commitment today. But the 2026 Hormuz crisis has proven something no academic argument ever could. Choke points are real. Dependency is a vulnerability. And infrastructure that seems expensive before a crisis looks very cheap after one. India is now in serious discussions about long-term energy security. The Oman-India pipeline corridor is being raised again in government briefings. SAGE is actively seeking Ministry of Petroleum support. Whether this crisis finally provides the political will that decades of feasibility studies could not, that remains to be seen. The Strait of Hormuz is still disrupted. Oil is still above $110, and the pipeline is still just a plan on paper. Should India have built this $5.2 billion pipeline years ago when the engineering was already complete? Or was it simply too expensive to spend on a crisis nobody believed would ever happen? Comment below, because the next energy crisis is already being shaped by the same geography.